All righty, note investors. Hey, welcome to this episode of Note Night in America, this special podcast episode. Excited about it. Hope you all had a great couple of weeks. I know it's been a couple of weeks since we've done a live tape breakdown because of everything going on, but honored to have you all here. We just had a great class for a couple of days with some great students. Same thing 2 weeks earlier, a live in-person class here in Austin. And you guys know I like to go through these assets. I want to help you guys close on your first deal or your second deal or your 10th deal. And this is a tape that I think adds some opportunities to you for especially some of you guys out there with smaller balances, 20 grand, 30 grand, 50 grand, 10 grand even in some cases, because these assets are available to be cherry picked. Originally got the tape while I was at South by Southwest from a fund out in Hawaii, that a guy that I've known for, golly, 15 years, traded back and forth with. He got this tape in, and it was an all or nothing tape at the time, and it was just kind of lower balances. It didn't make sense for me to bring it to my investors to fund the deal because there's not, if you're trying to split money on it, it doesn't really make sense. The smaller balances, some terms left, but it still can be a phenomenal opportunity for somebody who's buying for their own portfolio with an IRA, SDIRA, some lazy assets. You can get a double-digit return on these, but it just doesn't make sense for me to pitch this to my funding partners. Just there's not really any room. But it leaves an opportunity for you out there if you're putting some money to work, okay? And the balances work out well to be a good yield for you. It's a mixture of mostly contract for deeds. I'll give you a bit of the map breakdown here. So the red are all contract for deeds. The red are mortgages. And then what I have done to switch it up a little bit. I think we're so visual these days. Some people get so bogged down on the actual spreadsheet. So what I've done is I've actually gone out and tried to find as many of these photos of these properties, somewhat current, some are old. I use maybe a little older image so you can see the property. I only did that in the case when the condition was about the same. I didn't want to give you a better photo if the property looked like crap. You know what I mean? So try to give you as clean a photo as possible. Yes, you're still going to want to do your own due diligence, and we can help you with the BPOs. We can help you with the title work if you decide you want to make an offer and your offer is accepted. We'd love to help you out with that. And that's where we figure like, well, we'll probably make our money on doing the BPOs for you guys a little bit here. But if you didn't know that, we're offering that. We're open on BPOs and O&Es and door knockers and then a whole variety of things here in 2026 that we're excited about. But anyway, red dots are the contract for deeds. A lot of this is performing stuff. There's not that much non-performing. There is some that's 30 to 90 day lates, depending on when the tape was pulled. This tape was just pulled a couple weeks ago, so it's a fresh tape. It's not been bounced around for 6 months to joker brokers. I'm going to tell you this. If you are going to bid, please bid for yourself. I would really hate to have to distance you as a joker broker. If you're going to buy your for yourself. Don't go adding 3-4 points on the deal and trying to find it to somebody else. Look for your own portfolio, buy for your own portfolio, and let's go from there. But anyway, if you're watching this on the replay, you can email me at scott@weclosenotes.com. That's my direct email address, okay? If you have questions, please book a phone call at talkwithscottcarson.com. This is a great little tape for you. I think you guys can learn off it, too, for those that are new, all right? But bids are due this Wednesday, what is today? Today, I'm so out of by the 25th of March. So if you're watching this post March 25th, like after the 26th, 27th, this tape is really no longer available unless you want to follow up with me and see what fell out or what bids were accepted. And like I said, no joker brokers. Come on, guys. We're professionals here. If you're just joker brokering, then this is not the tape for you. And I'm going to tell you right now, the seller is looking for around 75% of UPB. They may go lower in some cases. I get it. Some of these lower balances, you have to go below 75 to make a decent return. Don't go in and looking to make 20, 25% returns. 12 to 15, 12 to 16, very legitimate offers on that stuff, okay? The loans are currently with a third-party servicer with State Bridge. That's who's servicing the loans is what I was told. You can buy one or you can buy a bulk or 10 or 20, all right? And bids will be given. I'm going to tell you right now, bids get priority to my one-on-one coaching students, and then the second tier is our WCN members. So if you'd like to have access, you can sign up for our monthly membership. It's $97 a month at noteumbrella.com. That's our WCN membership. That not only gives you access to different tapes we upload, but replays to our videos, past workshops. You also get discounted cost to our 2 days and 3-day workshops, and a lot of great other things, discounted pricing on a variety of other things. So please, please feel free to make some offers. We want to help you. All of you that are on here live with me. Let me pull up, see if there's any questions on people on YouTube. If you are watching on YouTube, do yourself a favor. Even if it's after, go over and go to notenightinamerica.com and register for the next webinar. We have that link up. Notenightinamerica.com will allow you to register for any future webinars we have. We do it on Monday nights usually. We're pretty excited that we are doing quite a bit of tapes in 2026, which always makes for a good thing. I'm just trying to get logged on here. Your videos. I'm getting to my YouTube channel. There we go. All right, perfect. I think I see that there. Okay, perfect. All right, so if you're watching live on YouTube, go to notenightinamerica.com, register. You'll get the link sent to you with the list, and then you can make your offers to us directly. But anyway, so what I did, like I said, I went and tried to find as many decent photos of the property. I was very fortunate. There's 47 to it. I think I got about 40. Some are up close, some are outdated. I can't help that, but I'm going to give you the best that I can find. Now, what I did as well is I resorted the spreadsheet for the assets based on their current fair market value as given by the seller. Now, some of these start at like $318,000 in fair market. The balance is lower. We'll go back to the spreadsheet in a little bit, okay? But I wanted to at least go through the spreadsheet or the actual tape. I went and found photos from the majority of them, current photos, so you can see kind of the condition of these properties. Some are in great shape, some need a little bit of work. A lot of them are owner occupied. And like I said, I've even labeled most of them. If it's a mortgage, it's got a big M on it. If it's 30 to 90 days behind, here you go. If it's in foreclosure, it's got an FC on it. So we're going to start at the most valuable asset and work our way down to the smallest valued asset. And we've got basically 41 out of the 47 for you. So tune in mind. So this first one here is the most expensive value of the asset. There is still a ton of equity. Every one of these notes usually has equity. Some of the smaller ones don't have any equity, but we'll dive into that later on. But here's one. It's in Fort Walton Beach. It's a couple years old. There's been a lot of rehab to the property. There was rehab going on. This was taken a few years back. But Fort Walton Beach, Florida. I will not list the addresses here. I don't want YouTube shutting down the account for bullying, as they say on the spreadsheet. We'll go ahead and hide the addresses. Like I said, if you want them, I'll email them to you that you're live here with me tonight so you can do the work on there. But there's Fort Walton Beach. Not too far from the water, but a borrower that's going through quite a bit. This is a contract for deed in Florida, which means that if you had to foreclose, it would be treated as a mortgage note, but the borrower is performing on this. So most of these are performing notes, okay? This one is in New Britain, Connecticut, a older house built in 1920, if I remember correctly, 1920, 2013. It's like, most of these are going to be contract for deed. So you have the ability, in a lot of states, to evict instead of foreclosing. But this is a performing note in New Britain, Connecticut. Nice big house in a nice neighborhood. And like I said, this was a relatively recent photo from within a couple of years. This one is in Tucson, Arizona. This is the first mortgage, as I've outlined with a big M here. It is owner-occupied. All of these are basically owner-occupied as far as I can tell. There's only a few that are unknown. Owner-occupied, it's 30 to 89 days late, so you're getting to that point where you could start the foreclosure process in Tucson, Arizona. I believe the value is right around 300. I think the unpaid balance is about 90. So you could potentially pick this up for somewhere in the 60K range, foreclose, and have an asset. And one thing, this is an awning with a shadow over it. Don't let you think that the awning is caving in, because that's just one of those roll-up awnings that they have. Pretty good sized block. The neighborhood, it's about that same way. But you've got kids and stuff like that there for you. So you have some emotional equity in the property on somebody that's coming up on that foreclosure time frame. I think it's coming up on 3 months late now as of next week or the 1st of April. So potentially a foreclosure for you that you can take back, make some money at the foreclosure auction, or if it doesn't sell at the auction, you end up taking the asset back and you've got a lot bigger REO there for you. This one's in St. Cloud, Florida. This is a contract for deed, which in Florida is treated as a mortgage, but it's current. And as you can see, this is on a pretty good little sized lot, about half an acre. Looks like it's a mobile home attached to the land, but it's got an awning, a lot of emotional equity on this. Bar takes care of the property. I thought it was a nice little property. outside of St. Cloud, Florida. Once again, got all these are going to have equity. Here's a property in Johnson City, Tennessee. A lot of clutter, owner occupied. It is a mortgage though in Tennessee, so you can foreclose once the bar becomes 120 days late in Tennessee. Relatively faster process, non-judicial, and Johnson City, Tennessee, not a bad area. It's just you can tell this guy's got a lot of toys out here in the woods for the most part. So lived in it for a while. Like I said, most of these have some pretty good seasoning. They're not anything that's newly originated. This is a mortgage. Moving on. The next one is in Shelby, North Carolina. This is 30 to 89 days late. This current photo. As you can see, 2026, kind of the shading thing from the MLS there. It says it's occupied. Maybe the homeowners aren't home. Does look to be a little bit vacant, but it is a contract for deed that is just 30 to 90 days late. And what you can do in North Carolina, then you basically, once a bar becomes 90 days late, you foreclose and go from there. The only thing tricky about North Carolina, I believe it's a tenant relationship, so you can evict versus having to foreclose. If not, you foreclose and go from there. But once again, quite a bit of equity on this asset. And so, like I said, I want you to take a look at these, make a little note, and we'll go from there later on. Kansas, Missouri. The house obviously is, we were talking with our coaching call earlier this morning. This is a contract for deed. The borrower is 30 to 89 days behind, so you can start the eviction process here in the next month. Got a lot of equity. Can't tell if the borrower was redoing the roof at one point and painting and just ran out of money or what, but it is owner occupied and might have to do a little bit of work on it. Let me pull down my little guy here so you guys can see the upper right hand. But anyway, potentially a decent brick home in a nicer neighborhood. All right. Next asset is in Rockwood, Tennessee. This one is in foreclosure. It's also a church is what it was listed when I could see it online. Couldn't get a really good image of the side of the house, but it is listed as a church. It is listed as a contract for deed. They are in the foreclosure process, so something to keep on. Maybe you end up with a pontoon boat if the reverend doesn't pay his mortgage on time. I don't know if they're actually hosting church in there or not, but it did pop up as a church there in Rockwood, Tennessee. This one's in Raytown, Missouri. It's a contract for deed. This is a little older photo. I don't know if the roof's been updated, but you see that they do have a tarp from a few years back. But otherwise, it still looks like it's in pretty good shape. I wouldn't let the tarp hold against me, because if they've replaced the roof in the last few years, it could be a really nice little asset. And it's like I said, it's a performing contract for deed. So somebody's living it and making the mortgage payment. This is a mortgage in Decatur, Alabama. It is current, is what I've been told. Alabama, I mean, you can pick up this performing note with some equity. Could be a little good cash flow. I think it's about a 10-12% based on 75% of the UPB. There is some equity. The one tricky thing about Alabama, if it is a mortgage and they do stop paying, you've got to go through the foreclosure route, and it's about a 1-year redemption period before you're able to actually sell the property. So, but performing paper, and this is an image from 2023 Google, just so you know. So I think it is occupied, owner occupied, and going from there, but not a bad looking little property in Decatur, Alabama, especially if you like performing paper. All right. Next one. This one's in Warrensville Heights. This is a contract for deeds. It's performing. Looks like the borrower likes the color blue. Let's just put it at that. There was a previous photo of it that did not look nearly as clean. All right. New roof, new paint, new shutters. Owner occupied, contract for deed in Ohio. If they stop paying, you can evict this, have to go through the foreclosure process, although it does take a little while to evict. It's not as fast as like Indiana, which can be in like 30 days. But still, a lot of pride of ownership, nice seasoned trees, beautiful neighborhood. Really nice neighborhood on this one. This next one in Hamilton, Ohio. It's a contract for deed. It's performing, kind of corner lot there. Performing paper, Hamilton, Ohio. I've owned stuff in Hamilton before. I like Ohio. I like the Buckeye State. The thing I put about this one, based on this photo, there is this one, I'm sorry, let me rephrase this. Over here on the right side, this is actually a few years old. This was from 2021 now that I remember. There's the actual sign for lease option, or you can own this home with a couple down, but they had power turned on because the power glass ball was on it. So I can't spin around because I just took the image of it, but it was kind of funny this morning working with one of my coaching students, and it's not a bad house. Got quite a bit of equity. Russellville, Kentucky. I'm not sure remember exactly where Russellville is, but this is owner occupant. You can see they've got kids, a lot of toys here. It's this property was facing it originally from the street, and then we end up pulling back, and you can see that there's an carport over here where they park. So it's a owner occupant with some kids. I don't think they're running a daycare out of it, but it does sure as heck looks like it with the bike in the front yard and everything else. But hey, kids. But I like the property because of new roof. It looks like it's had a nice paint job. It's gone through some upgrades. All right. Moving on to Petersburg, VA. This is a mortgage. It is a performing mortgage. The sign in the door there is "Beware of the dog." So somebody's got a dog in there. Got some equity in this one, but it is a performing note that you can pick up that the borrower's lived there for a while. Oh, and that's their lawnmower to the left-hand side. This is a photo from about 2020, Google 2026, so a relatively current photo for you. Okay. Virginia is a non-judicial foreclosure state, so they don't pay. You can foreclose relatively quickly, but it's not, I always say don't buy a note you don't want to end up owning. I never say don't buy a note you don't want to end up living in. Would I live in this? I don't know. Neighborhood looked nice for the most part. Just somebody's lived in the house for a while. I expect kind of maybe a little older person living by himself. Who knows? But anyway, this one's in Robbins, Illinois. This is a little harder one. This is a little older photo. You can see the metal awnings over this. This is not ripped. This is just the shadow from the tree or the shadow from the awning above. It's a two-story house. Once again, it's a performing contract for deed. In Illinois, you can evict instead of go through the foreclosure process when it comes to contract for deeds. Okay, so I don't remember the date on this. I should have put the date on these, but it would have taken a little bit more longer. But anyway, somebody's living it, making payments, and not behind. This one's in Medway, Ohio. Now, Medway's out in the middle of there, but what I was very impressed with this is a performing contract for deed, a relatively current photo, and you can see that somebody really is doing a good. They're putting a new fence around it. There's a whole side to the left side of the screen here that is got stuff in it as well, but somebody's really painted new, done really great rehab on this, and it's a performing contract for deed. So I didn't look at this one originally because Medway didn't know where it was, but I really do like the improvements this borrower is doing to the property. And like I said, it's on time. Next one, this one's in Jacksonville, Florida. This is an opposite side. This is a contract for deed in Florida, which you have to go through the foreclosure process. And you can see there is a tarp on the roof. That old boat, man, that's a 3-hour tour kind of boat. I don't know, but this borrower is already 30 to 90 days behind. And I would expect this is going to foreclosure if the borrower has stopped paying. Don't know if it's what occupancy. It does not look like it's occupied based on some of the older photos, but has recently just fallen behind on the 90-day side of things. Okay. And as far as I know, majority of these are owner occupied based on the spreadsheet, unless otherwise stated. Okay. So something that one might need a little bit of work on the interior. Who knows? This one is in Montgomery, Alabama. This is a mortgage in foreclosure. All right. So it is occupied, relatively recent photo with Montgomery or with Alabama. You've got to foreclose. So you've got the foreclosure time frame, and then you have the right redemption period. So this does have quite a bit of equity on. If I remember correctly, it's about 50 grand in equity above what's owed. So might be enough for somebody who there's local. You could also potentially do cash for keys, deed in lieu to try to help the borrower avoid. But this is a relatively current photo. Okay. Moving on, this one's in Gary, Indiana. Not a bad little property on a decent lot. Gary, Indiana is going through a lot of gentrification. This sits right next to a church. This parking lot to the left is a church, is a Baptist church, but it looks like the fence is up. So I don't think the church is operating anymore. Based on what I could kind of tell, I didn't do a really deep dive. Besides, I never see a church with a fence across the parking lot. It's usually a sign, well, it's closed for a while. So who knows? But this is 2025 of last year, so a relatively current photo. And once again, it is a performing contract for deed that if in Indiana they stop paying, you evict. Okay. Moving on next. This one's in Kingston Mines. This is an older photo, so I'm just disclosing, don't know what kind of condition. I think that is a blue metal roof. I don't think that's a tarp, but I could be incorrect. This goes back to the photo when the mortgage was originally originated a few years back. Based on the listing I was able to find, it had interior photos. I think there's a basement with it as well, too. Pretty good size house, but I didn't find a current photo because Kingston Mines, Illinois, didn't really show up on the map too much. So I don't know how many people are in Kingston Mines, so just keep that in mind. But this is a performing mortgage in Illinois, not Cook County, if I remember correctly. Next asset is in Island Falls, Maine. This is a not bad looking property. This is the northernmost asset. It's a performing mortgage, way up north in Portland, really near the water on side of things. So keep that in mind. There's probably snow on the ground right now, based on our friend Judy, who lives in Portland, which is a little south of Island Falls, says that she's got a few inches of snow on the ground. So not a bad looking property. This is I think from about a year and a half ago. Owner occupied, paying on time. Okay. This one's in Ocklawaha, Florida. Now this one is a performing contract for deed. You see the dog right there. This is owner occupied, but this has got a nice size little lot, a lot of pride of ownership, flag, the stuff we look for. You get the old truck there. Somebody's taking care of it. Landscaping, yard is mowed. I really kind of like this one. I took the angle of this one because I thought this was a nice little contract for deed property as well. All right. Let's move on here. Next one is in Plymouth, Indiana. Same thing. This one's got, toys on the outside, swing, kids. It's kind of a weird kind of roof thing, but this is a contract for deed that is 30 to 89 days behind. So could you start the eviction process in Indiana? Yes, you could if you wanted to, but they got equity. So, I mean, on a contract for deed, when you evict, guess what? You evict. You pay, you stay. You no pay, you no stay. No long foreclosure process in Indiana. So that might be the possibility to step in some equity or potentially work out some sort of payment plan. Moving back into Ohio, Dayton, Ohio. Once again, this one is a nice little property. We had several in Dayton, Ohio. This one, like I said, pride of ownership, flag, swing, landscaping, nice corner lot, big trees. It's a contract for deed, also 30 to 90 days late. So something to think about there if you're not opposed to the foreclosure side. Youngstown, Ohio. I'm going to tell you, this is in foreclosure. This is about 5 years old. This photo is actually from 2020, so it's about 5.5 years old. But a nice looking house, most current house, very neighborhood friendly. Somebody had some pride of ownership when this photo was taken. Don't know the current thing. Youngstown, of course, does have some rougher areas in its city. So you got to be careful of that, like you would in Chicago, like you would in Gary, heck, like you would in Austin, Texas, even in some places. So, but I always like showing these big, beautiful houses because the balance on this was pretty low compared to the value side of the house. So there could be a possibility for you to foreclose on this contract for deed and step into a property with a lot of equity. Something to keep in mind. All right. This one, probably the worst looking asset on there, Clarksburg, West Virginia. Okay. This house has been boarded up. I just threw it on there because I thought you would like to see it because people are like, oh, it's down an alleyway. I just put it on there so you guys could take a look at it. Not really something that I would buy, but I just would share on that one in West Virginia. Moving on, this one's in St. Louis, Missouri. Nice little, it's a smaller house. It's a completely smaller house, about 700 square foot. I don't know if that includes the basement, but it's probably the smallest house on the list here. Maybe that Clarksburg might make it a little bit smaller, but this one's, it's owner occupied. It's a mortgage. They're paying on time. Missouri, even though if it is a mortgage, Missouri is a fast foreclosure non-judicial state. And, it's not the only small house on the block. So, with a new tiny home phase might be something for you to step into. And it's got some value. It did have some, I think, $110,000 value on it and quite a bit of equity. So something, performing little note there can be a performing little cash cow for you. All right. This one is Anderson, Indiana. There was two in Anderson, Indiana. The second one, I really didn't have a good picture for because it's too up close, blurred and out of date. But this Anderson, Indiana is a performing note. I think it's valued about 80 to 87,000. There is some equity on it. I think based on the pricing, you could pick this up at a 12 to 13 yield, maybe more. But it's on a nice lot, nice neighborhood. And I like Anderson, Indiana. Been there a couple times. Own some notes up there that we foreclosed on, and it's a performance stuff. But as you can see, you got some pride of ownership. You got a wind chime. You've got some landscaping taking place. And I think this just breeds a good little ROI for your solo 401k, your self-directed IRA. Okay. This one's in Hamilton, Ohio. Relatively current photo, if I remember correctly. I did take a earlier photo of this one because there's a truck parked in front of it. I think it's so I cut off kind of the bottom half. So I went back 2 photos ago, same condition, same property. So I felt confident enough to share this one. Once again, it's a performing contract for deed. Could probably pick it up about a double-digit yield for you. Okay. Rockford, Illinois. This is a mortgage. Kind of tough thing because the next door neighbor here has, I guess, asked Google to block themselves out. So it's a big blurry void to the right side. But this is a little, not the biggest house, but they do have a two-bay car garage in the back. It is a performing mortgage as well. Rockford, not too far from Chicago. Obviously, home of the Rockford Peaches. If you did not know that, little women's baseball team back during World War II. But anyway, it is a mortgage. It is performing, and I liked the condition of the properties. Clean paint job, clean siding, not too shabby. This one takes us down to God's waiting room. This is in Jacksonville, Florida. This is a contract for deed. This is a most current photo of this little property here. Not the biggest one. I think it's about 900 square foot. There's an earlier photo that shows a Mercedes in the driveway. And I think this was covered in a blue tarp here as a car parked away while they're working on it. But performing contract for deed, paying on time, and got some equities to it for you. So not a bad little deal. I kind of like this one. As well. Moving on, this one's out in West Virginia. This one's a little rural. This is about the best photo I can have with the car and the wheels and the truck and the outhouse or the he shed, she shed. That's about as good a photo as I can get from the road. So it's kind of rural, obviously, in West Virginia, but it is a performing contract for deed where somebody's paying on time. And I think you could pick it up at a 12 yield. This one in Rosedale, Maryland. Rosedale's a little rural. You can see these are the signs on it when it was sold on terms. This is a mortgage. It is performing, but that's about as best of photos they can get. But Rosedale is a little rural compared to the other areas, but it's performing on time mortgage and not a bad looking little house after all. And it's on a pretty good sized lot. All right. Let's move on to the next one. This one's in Mansfield, Ohio. This is kind of a side angle there for you. The normal lots there in Ohio, Ohio's got quite a bit there, but this is a relatively current photo. Borrower's got some pride of ownership on it. Obviously, landscaping, taking care of the house. It is a performing contract for deed, unless otherwise stated. Okay. This one's in Louisville, Kentucky. It's 30 to 89 days late on the contract for deed. Relatively current photo. The next door neighbor is growing corn. I had not seen that, but they had a big spot of corn in their front yard, trying to grow some corn in the front yard. So there you go. You got your built-in popcorn machine on this 30 to 89 day late Kentucky contract for deed. I can't remember if it's a eviction in Kentucky or a foreclosure. So I think Kentucky's a relatively fast foreclosure state anyway for you. But it's right next to a two-story building there. Looks like it's a fourplex of some sort, but not a bad little house in the neighborhood. Somebody's definitely got some pride of ownership when it comes down to it. Just hope they start paying on time. This one takes us over to Anniston, Alabama. This is a, performing contract for deed. I did take a little older photo because there was a lot of cars in the driveway, stuff like that. So the photo looks the same. You can see it's a metal roof, contract for deed. Somebody's got some pride of ownership. Is paying on time on this one. In Alabama, if they don't pay on a contract for deed, it's an eviction, not a foreclosure process. So that's a nice benefit for that there for you if you're worried about. This one would kind of do away with the 1 year redemption period on a mortgage. All right. But they're paying on time. That's the thing. Most of these are paying on time. This one's in Memphis, Tennessee, is a performing owner occupied. They've got a smaller balance on this one. I'm not really liking this one because the fact it's older. You probably have an elderly person in here is disabled a little bit with that ramp, and it looks like the house is just falling apart. This looks clean compared to what I've seen some of the photos from earlier where it's really messy in the back. Looks like a lot of kids' toys and somebody's just not able to take up the house. So if you like Memphis, hey, great. This could be a performing contract for deed for you. They've only got a small balance on it. So it could be something to step into and get paid off on. And then if they don't pay, then you end up taking the property back. But I would imagine that the house inside needs some work. It's probably pretty cluttered based on what I could tell from the outside. Okay. And we all know Memphis can vary block by block, right? Moving on, this one's in Sebring, Ohio. As we get down to the lower balances, the lower values on this list, Sebring, Ohio, performing contract for deed. Borrowers lived in it for a while. That's just wear and tear on the siding there for you. I can't tell. I could not tell if that's it's just a normal. But it's on a pretty good sized lot. Pretty neighborhood. It's just this property looks like it's been shellacked with not the gunfire because it's not gun shells, but you see it's just that exterior wood siding is just kind of coming off. And it's the same thing down the right side of the property as well. So I thought I would do a street front view for you. Okay. Once again, long-term, paying on time, not bad. Dayton, Ohio. This one's got the brick kind of frontal to it. This is a performing contract for deed as well. Not a bad looking property. If you like Dayton, you can pick up quite a few there in the Ohio area, Ohio State. Once again, performing contract for deed. This one's also in Dayton, Ohio. This is a smaller balance one. I mean, smaller balance and smaller value. I think it's only got a value of like 30 grand on it, but it is performing contract for deed. There's a small apartment complex right next to it. That's the building to the left. And then you got a single family on the right side. Just it's not a high valued area of Dayton, probably the rougher part of Dayton for the most part. Okay. This one is in Edwards, Mississippi. This is a mortgage. This is a relatively current photo as best I could find. You see the roof is not on there. So I don't know if it's been ripped off because of a hurricane. It's not a bad looking house, but this has a lower value based on things. It is 30 to 89 days late. I would highly encourage you. If you're going to buy this, Mississippi's not too long of a foreclosure state, but you're probably going to have to do some work. And I'd be afraid if there's some water damage inside there because the tarp and the shingles looks like it's been power washed off. But at least the borrower's got a job, which is better than. But they're behind by 30 to 89 days late. And I lumped those 30, and some were just 30 days, some were 59, and others were up to 90. So I just lumped them so you know that they're starting to be behind a little bit. Now, a little bit of an insight is that the borrower, not the borrower, the note holder on these who bought these notes bought them back in May of 2023. I think they were primarily non-performing. They did a really good job of working with the borrower. So you may have 2 years, just about 2 years of on-time payments, almost 3 years of on-time payments since they bought this in May of 2023. So 2.5 years of at least on-time payments. I'd be willing to bet at least a minimum of 12. Obviously, if during due diligence you give the payment here, so you see it's not a performing note, then obviously you'd want to fade your bid down from that price. Roseville, Ohio. This is a performing contract for deed. The borrower's living in it. I think he only owes like $8,000, but obviously it needs some work. You can tell. Beware of a dog, private property, get off my yard kind of bar there. And that side there, I don't know if he was getting ready to paint it or not, but obviously a little rougher shape. And then Larned, Kansas, this little property is occupied and they're paying on time. Small balance. I think it's only like 9 grand, 8 grand, or something like that for you. Okay. And that's the visual property tour there for you guys. I thought we would dive in and look at the spreadsheet. You kind of see kind of different balances. And like I said, you can do most of the heavy lifting yourself by identifying the opportunities available for you. So any questions about these properties before we dive into the actual tape and the spreadsheet for you guys tonight? Hopefully you enjoyed it. Took me a while to pull those photos for you at the last minute today, but I think there's definitely some possibilities there for you. All right, let me pull up the spreadsheet here for you. Let me pull it up here. I'm going to take away the ones that we've been working through already, so it's fresh. Actually, let me do this. I sent this out. Boom shakalaka. All right, here we go. Let's download here in just a second. Let me go ahead and hide the street address on here. You guys, when I send it out to you, the street address will be on there, but I don't want good old YouTube blocking my channel because of saying bullying, which is sometimes happens when I look at tapes. So let's pull it up and dive into this to show you. Okay, so we got the 47 notes here. Now, this is just as it came to me. Mixture of contract for deeds. There's some stuff that I did not like. The Big Spring in Nebraska, it's kind of rural. I found an old grainy photo. I didn't put that in there. All right, so let's resort this so you have a bit of an idea, front or back. So I'm going to do this. We're going to basically say the AV values. We're going to resort this by values, highest to lowest, okay? Largest to smallest. Okay, so you see the Fort Walton Beach right off the bat there. It's current. Current UPB is 90. It's worth 318 conservatively. Let's throw in some numbers in here so you can kind of start looking at these things on a regular basis. So let's first do this. I'm gonna throw in a couple comps. First and foremost, I'm just gonna put, if the seller gives you any type of like price point they would like, then that's what you'll put in there. Now, obviously, you always have the right to fade your bid down or submit a lower bid, but I just put this in here so you have a bit of an idea where they're at price point wise. So if we're going to take 75% of the current UPB, 0.75, okay. There's that. And then what we're also going to do, oops, what the heck? Let's just do this. Change that to $1, not all the way down. All right, we're going to also do what's 12 months P&I. Okay. Now we're going to go over here. The P&I payment is not too far, so times 12. All right. And now, so here's the current P&I payment, just so you guys can kind of see over here. You've got payments that range anywhere, come on, from $85 a month all the way up to $1,400. Okay. And there is a chunk of these like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, basically just under a third of the tape that fall below that 250 a month category. And I use that as a category because I'm using a lot of other people's money. I got to make some money on that otherwise. The rest of these, I mean, if you're using your own money and you're happy with the yield, you're good. Okay. Obviously, you're going to want to take a $300 to $360 servicing fee out for performing. The non-performing size would be more, but if it's non-performing, you're probably going to go the route to foreclosure. Okay. So anyway, let's go back here. Now that we have our 12-month P&I, we're going to do this. We're going to insert one more thing here. And we're going to say net cash flow because we're going to take that $300 servicing fee out. Okay. $25 times 12 comes to a specific amount, right? And then what we'll do is one more column in there. We'll just say ROI, 12-month ROI. If they just start paying 12 months. Now, of course, if they bring 2, 3 months to the table to reinstate what they have, that you're going to get a higher yield. But for the most part, since these are mostly performing mortgage, performing contract for deeds, we're going to make it simple for you. Okay. All right. So is equal to, you take your net cash flow divided by what they want. That gives you a rough ROI. Okay. And like you see this one in Fort Walton Beach, if you buy it at the 75 cents on the dollar of the UPB, you're going to see about a 12% cash and cash return to you. So let's change these up to percentages. And let's copy all 4 of these columns over now, all the way down. So it gives us a better hit rate. Okay. Now, I've got the performing on here. Is there anybody here on that's live with me right now that prefers foreclosure? They can buy something at a discount and then they look to foreclose. Okay. If you are, let me know. There's only a few foreclosures on here. I'm glad to highlight those and those numbers for you. So you can take a look at them. So let me make the board. Okay, so there's that. All right. So you see now that you have balances ranging. If we look at just the reinstatement, if you were to get them all, just start reinstating, paying 12 months on time. That's not including the foreclosures. Let me go over to the foreclosures actually and highlight those because then we'll be. All right, the current, let's just put the foreclosures here so you can see those. All right, so the Rockwood, Tennessee, Montgomery, Alabama, Youngstown, Ohio, the big red brick building, and the Clarksburg, West Virginia, which is that Clarksburg, West Virginia. That's one of the uglier ones out there, right? Because the other West Virginia one was the one that's kind of rural, but they say that this one that has a value of $89,000 in West Virginia. I think there's kind of smoking crack on that one. Current UPB is only 20 or 30. If you pick this up at they want 22, I would not offer 22 for that piece of crap property. I would offer a whole lot less. So if you like that one, when you see something that just the numbers don't really make sense, I don't think it's worth 89. It's too small. You can offer, obviously, fade your bid down, make an offer that just makes sense for you. So we got a question from somebody. Q&A. So you, Ramon asked a question. You typically say 12 to 15% from what return should we target for a foreclosure? Well, that's going to vary, Ramon, based on what you buy it at. This formula over here is not going to work for a foreclosure, right? You should, if you remember, when you came to the workshop, We said you probably want to be at 20-25%, depending on what kind of condition it's in and foreclosure time frame. All right. So for something here in Texas, well, I'll shoot for 20% if I can get a good yield on that, knowing that if I can do it quickly, my yield will go from 20 to 40% when I annualize it. Okay. I think more so with foreclosures, which you should look at what can you make versus I want to make at least $20,000-$30,000 if I can, especially if it's going to be a year-long foreclosure. All right. Yeah. So great. Yeah, no problem. Good question. Yep. Sorry. I meant for these couple of foreclosures on this tape. Yeah. Done. Let me go through. And then let me, guys, make sure, did I enable the chat roll for you? If I did not, let me make sure the chat is enabled for you. Hope I did not. It's one of those days. All right. So you should be able to type in the chat roll now. Thank you for commenting there in the Q&A for me. All right. So let's look like this Rockwood, Tennessee. First of all, never buy a note, especially if you're going to foreclose on something you don't want to end up in. If you're comfortable, like, look at the values on this. This is a contract for deed, so it's a relatively faster foreclosure. If you buy it at 31 and 42 is owed, if you sell it at the auction or take it back, you're going to be sitting pretty good. There's a lot of value. But that, if I remember correctly, Rockwood, Tennessee, let's go back and look. That's it. That's the property. Okay. I don't necessarily would want to foreclose. Rockwood's kind of rural. Johnson City, I like. Okay. But that one, if you can make it and you're buying in Tennessee and you don't mind that, then by all means, dive into that one. Okay. But that's the one in there. It's got some value to it. Could you give some cash for keys to the bar to walk away? Yeah. You have to move your church somewhere else. Okay. This one in Montgomery, Alabama. Yeah, this is the house that had the white truck on the left and the two cars in the garage. They owe 73. The house is worth about 120 conservative sits. Could you pick this up at 55,000? Yeah, that's going to put, when you foreclose, if it sells at the auction, okay, that's $18,000 to $20,000 in your pocket, because this is not legal description or a legal balance. Legal balance is going to be higher. But if you don't sell it at auction, are you comfortable owning the property for a year? You might have to give some money to the borrowers to do it. And that's the right. If I was going to buy this one, I would give some cash for keys to the bar. Like, listen, I'll give you 10 grand to walk away. All right, we're going to foreclose on it. Avoid a foreclosure on your credit so you're not facing anything and go out and get something else done. If you like that, then hey, make an offer there at the 55,000, because that's pretty good at well below, 75% of UPBs. That's well below. Well, I mean, that's at below 50% of fair market value. So that's got some opportunity there, depending on what you see in the due diligence. Part of the due diligence I look at the notes. Has the borrower been responsive? Okay. Youngstown, Ohio is that big house, big red house. 21,000 is the current balance. It's worth 91. This is a contract for deed, so you're evicting on that one. That one probably has a lot more desirability on that if you like foreclosures. Don't know the interior condition, don't know the current photo of that, but that would be something that I would look at, like 16 grand to start the eviction to end up with something that's worth 90. That makes sense. I think that makes sense to me. Okay. I wouldn't go too much lower than that because of all that equity. I think if you can pick it up for 16, do the eviction, you're sitting pretty, even if it's not worth 91. If you got to put 30 grand into it, you're going to be still sitting doubling your money. The Clarksburg, West Virginia one, I'm just not a fan of that one. It's just ugly. I mean, if you want something in Clarksburg, I would also, it's such an ugly asset. They want they want 75 cents. I wouldn't offer 75 cents on that one. Offer 22. I would offer like 10 based on the condition. Okay. So that's what I would do with that one. And then the Rockwood, like I said, it's a contract for deed. You're going to evict a little bit of fast foreclosure. You into that one for 31. I think it's got the house does not look so bad. I think it's the pontoon boat and the extra cars that are out there could potentially be a decent deal on the foreclosure side, because it is worth 152. So buy it. 25, 30, make an offer at that and see what they say. You still make a good return on a fast foreclosure if it sells at auction. or you give them some cash to walk. Okay. Does that make sense, Ramon? Great to see you again, buddy. Thanks. Sounds good. Make sure, once again, guys, everybody, get your bids into me by Wednesday. I need them really Wednesday noon, Wednesday at 5 o'clock at the latest, because I've got to submit them Wednesday night. Now, it's a good thing the guy lives in Hawaii, so he's on a later time, but I guarantee you at 10 o'clock his time, he's going to be start blowing up my phone. Hey, are you getting bids in? So the sooner you can get them in, the better off that will be. Like I said, okay. All right, so let's go and look at the ones that are a little behind then, okay? Let's not do the current ones. Now we'll do the 30 to 59 and then the 60 to 89. Okay, so you got a few more on those. So like this one here in Arizona, the very first one we looked at, it's like, so it's got a value of 230. All right. Now, Ramon, this one actually might be a little bit better for you on this one because you're closer since you're in LA. This one's in Tucson. And I don't know days on market. I don't have any of that stuff pulled. Okay. But this one, since they're 30 to 89 days behind, or sorry, 60 to 89 days behind. So it's coming up that time to start the foreclosure process. You can pick this up at 68. It's worth 230. They owe 90. If you take it to the foreclosure auction, you're going to make, what is that, $23,000 between that. Current UPB balance is probably a little bit high. Their monthly P&I on this is just $780 a month. So if they haven't paid 90 days, another 3 months on there. So you're looking at, they owe about 70. I'm sorry, they owe about 93. So yeah, you make about $26,000 on this thing. If it doesn't sell, now you're into a property for 230 that a value of 230 that you're only into it for, say, 75, stuff like that. If they do reinstate on this one, let's do one other thing. It would be basically about a 16% cash and cash return if they do reinstate. So then you've got to performing at the first year at 16, second year it's 13, and just kind of cranking out. So $67,000, $68,000 investment could be a pretty good yield for you. This one in Shelby, that house, not bad. It's worth 170. They owe 41. If you pick it up at 31, you would net about 13% of the performing note. Kansas City, Missouri. This is the small little one, if I remember correctly. Performing. Oh no, it's a different one. The small little one was performing, but still, same thing on this one. If they reinstate, you'd make about a 13% cash and cash return. If they don't reinstate, then you're evicting, canceling the contract, and now you're into a property at 158 that you're only a value worth 156 that you're into it for less than 30,000. So it might make sense for that one. The Jacksonville, Florida one, this one devolves just 1 to 2 months behind. This one you got to go through the foreclosure process. So the balance on this one being at 48, they owe 120. There's a lot of equity. I would probably they're not quite 90 days behind, but what I would do if you like that one, I would go like 70 cents on the dollar, maybe 65 cents on the dollar, and then update it because this should be about another month behind. So maybe instead of 1 to 2, it's 2 to 3 months behind. And then look at where they're at as far as workout strategy. What's happened with a borrower? Have they been responsive? Plymouth, Indiana, they're only 1 to 2 months. This is the house that was the gray with a swing and the white barn, or the white garage next to it. In Indiana, it's an eviction. So if they get another month behind, you could pick this up at a 12% cash and cash return for $20,000. And it could be a 12% return. If not, then you're stepping into a property that's worth 98 that you're only into it for 20, 22, 23 for the eviction. Okay. Dayton, Ohio. We got a few in Dayton, Ohio, so I apologize. This is one that's oh yeah, this is a nice house. It's worth 95. They only owe 23. Once again, it's a contract for deed, so you're stepping into it at 17 and some change. If they do start performing on time, come to the table, you're going to make a 13% or greater ROI the first year, 12% after. If they don't pay, you do the eviction, cost you about $2,500 to do the eviction, a few months, and then you're into a property for 95. So something to keep in mind there. Louisville, Kentucky, that little property with corn next door to it. Great little property, same thing. They owe 35. It's valued at 65. Paying 75 cents would be about 26. That's about 11% return. If they just pay the 12 months, if they reinstate, it's about a 12 to 13% cash and cash return. And then the one in Edgeworth, Mississippi, that is a mortgage that's at that point where it's 90 days late. Now you can start the foreclosure process. It's worth, see, that's the thing I didn't get. This one, they gave a value of only 20,000. Okay. They are upside down on this one. So let's do this. Let me do this. Let me stop sharing. Let me look at the actual, I don't think I pulled Zillow value on that one because I was just going off what they gave me. So CD, let me do this. This one, yeah, 215 Ashcroft Circle. And Zillow gave this one, it's only, see, it says 20 grand. I don't understand it. And this photo, I know you can't see it, so I'm just hang on here. That photo with the truck in front with a blue tarp on it and the roof was taken November of last year. Yep. So maybe it does. Maybe there is an issue there. But man, I don't get it. It's occupied. I know you can't build a house for 20 grand that nice with a white brick. You know what I mean? So that one might be worth making. You know what? I might just make a bid on it to see what it looks like. There's I'm just gonna put this one in yellow to see what the true value is, because I just think it's, if they did start paying on time, it's a 14-15% yield, but they only owe 49. I don't think that $20,000 is right based on here, but that's what it says on Zillow. So who knows what happened? Maybe there's a foreclosure down the street. But also, where is Edwards, Mississippi at? Let's do that. Let me share my screen for that. So let's go back here, see where Edwards, Mississippi is at. Whoops. Wrong one. Here we go. Okay. Come on. Edwards, Mississippi. Share. See, that's what I would think, Judy. PropStream says is at $95,000 value. I think that's more accurate. Not knowing what kind of condition it's in. This is November 2025. So let's see what else is in here. How far is it away from anything? Mississippi's kind of rural. That's the thing. It's the poorest state in the country. Oh, it's outside of Jackson. Let's do directions to, let's see, Ole Miss. University of Mississippi. Oh, that's University of Mississippi's up there. Ole Miss. Okay, what's in Jack? Oh, is it what? Jackson State. Yeah, there we go. So, you're 30-minute drive, 20 miles outside. Yeah, it's not so bad. It's right off the highway, right? So, question here. Sold says for 66,000 in 219. So they sold it for 66,000. Okay. Let's go back to our spreadsheet. So they sold it for 66,000. They owe 49. They've paid it down. They paid down a chunk. It's at 9.9% though. They're due for January. So I think that one's more valuable. I think that is a more valuable asset, and it might be worth it. I'm going to say value at 90 at least. So you buy it at 37, you end up with an asset for 90, maybe get the bar back on track. But it's that's right there, 12-month, you potentially step into a 14% cash and cash return. If they just start paying on time, what happened? Did you have to fix the roof? If you fix the roof, okay, by all means, I'll let you slide 90 days. Let's get you back on track. You working? Okay. You get my mind, but it might be worth it. So those are kind of where we're at in the foreclosures, are the ones that are 30 to 89 days late, the scratch and dent ones, basically. Now let's look at all the current ones. And like the current ones will vary. Some are decent. Like when you look at current UPB on these, you'll see like 19 grand, 17 grand, 9 grand. This is the Rockford, Illinois one. It's worth 80. You could pick it up for around, 7,200. You got a pretty good little cash flow on that one for a few years. Okay. This one's the Memphis, Tennessee. Like I said, they only owe that orange house that was kind of needing some work. They owe 8 grand on it. Could you pick it up for 6 grand? Yeah. And you're stepping into a 12% cash and cash return from grandma or a family. 11 grand on the one in one of the ones in Dayton, Ohio. They owe 30. That was the 2-story one with the kind of carpets in the front next to the 8-plex. That's an 11% cash and cash return. Sebring, Ohio. This is a current one. It's worth 50. They owe 22. Based on their payments, it's a 21% cash and cash return. So they've paid down some stuff, but it's a pretty good yield on that one. Monthly payment is $320 a month. Okay. Like I said, that one might be, maybe could squeeze an investor in for something like that. But for the most part, you're picking up for 16. Like I said, some of these smaller balances, you could put some money to work on these things. If you're watching live on YouTube right now during live, you might want to go over to Note Night in America if you'd like to get access to this. Let's go to notenightinamerica.com, register for the Zoom, log in, join me here for a few minutes, and I'll make sure and send those that are attending here the actually list to it, because we're coming up on an hour right now, and we're getting ready to wrap this up for the night. So questions, comments, concerns. I mean, guys, this could be an opportunity for you to, if you've got money sitting on the sideline not making anything, if you've flipped a property a couple of years ago and you made a great return and you want to make 15, 20%, this is probably not the tape for you if you're looking for performing. But guess what? You could pick up something at 12, 13, 14%. You can make a pretty good return. Like this one here. Well, look, this one in New Britain, Connecticut. Judy, you might want to look at this one and run it by the guys there in Newport. Could be a performing note. It's worth 300. They're current on time. You pick it up for 47. You've got some good cash flow on this. They're paying a pretty good chunk of money, and it's a pretty good yield for a while period of time. So, but anyway, or something for you with your IRA might be something to look at if you're not too far from Connecticut. But once again, everybody, any questions, any comments, any concerns? I'm sure somebody's like, well, which ones are you going to bid on? Well, I'm not going to tell you that. There's some opportunity. There's none in Texas. I like some of the ones in Ohio. I think some of the ones in Indiana. I like the little Anderson. There's 2 Anderson you can pick up that are performing. Let me just go show you those back to back here. Because if you can pick up 2 in a city at the same time, why not? Current UPB is 14. The other one's 15. So you can pick up 2 of these assets. You can pick up $167,000 in real estate for about $20,000 and get a 13% cash and cash return. That's hard to beat. If they no pay, you evict and go from there. So, all righty, everybody. I want to say thank you for joining me tonight. Like I said, bids are due on this by Wednesday. You can pick 1 up. You can pick 20 up. You can do whatever you like. Okay. And it's just that there's some opportunity here for you guys on some of these smaller balance stuff that you can cherry pick from. Like I said, anywhere from balances from like 8 grand all up to 90 grand on that Fort Walton Beach one. But that's a value of 318. It's a contract for deed. It's performing. Take a look at them. Get back to me. I want to say thank you for joining me tonight. If you've been wondering where the podcast episode been, we didn't publish one last week. We'll get several out this week. We've just been very tied up with the class and some other things going on. So, but make your bids directly to me. Once again, I'll bring it back up. Shoot your emails with bids to me directly at scott@weclosenotes.com. Like I said, get them to me, your bids. If you don't send me a bid on Thursday afternoon, late, or Friday, it's just not going to work. Like I said, sellers looking for about 75%. If there's equity, don't come in and say, oh, I'm only offer like 20 cents on the dollar. I'm not going to submit your bid if it doesn't make sense. Okay. If you're curious about where your bid should be, then let me know. Glad to jump on and walk you through it. Um, if your bid is the same as one of my one-on-one coaching students, my one-on-one coaching students are going to get priority. It just is what it is. But there are plenty of opportunities. We've only gotten a few bids from a few folks right now, so there is opportunity here for everybody. So, like I said, these are serviced by State Bridge. You can buy one, buy all in bulk. We have exclusive right to this through Wednesday. So if you don't get bids to me, don't cry that you don't have opportunities, because there's plenty of opportunities out here. And like I said, if you're interested in more information, it's always good to get signed up for WC membership for $97 a month at noteumbrella.com. That's noteumbrella.com for our monthly membership, where we provide lists on a usually pretty, at least a monthly basis. Sometimes it's weekly, but most of the time it's, we guarantee we're going to get something out to you guys to take a look at on a monthly basis. So, any other questions, comments, concerns before I let you guys go to the night? And I'll get you the email list for those that were live here with us. All right. Have a great rest of your evening. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for tuning in live. I really do appreciate it. Makes it a whole lot easier when I got somebody live on here versus just talking into the void for an hour. All right. So be safe, everybody. And we will see you guys at the top. Go make some offers.